Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm reacting to a debate between alpha males and beta males. I've already seen this video. I saw it a few weeks ago, and when I was watching it on YouTube, I thought I have so many thoughts. I want to react to this. I want to talk to my community on YouTube about this and see what people think. The title alone hooked me in, right? Very clickbaity. I've talked on my channel before in various videos about this concept of the alpha male versus beta male. And it's very polarizing, right? Like, it's inherently kind of controversial to label people that way, I think, to label men that way especially. So that had me in, that made me want to watch. And so, as I mentioned, I've already seen it, but today I want to kind of review it by looking at the highlights, sharing my thoughts, and as always, I want to know what you think as well. Tell me in the comments. By the way, also please tell me in the comments if you like these kinds of videos, these reaction videos. I've been doing a few more lately, and it seems like you guys like it based on the comments, the viewership and stuff like that. But they take a lot of time for me to create versus my regular videos just talking about some random story of the past weekend or whatever. So tell me if you like these videos, because I put more effort into them in terms of editing, and I have to screen record and all this stuff. So I only want to do it if you guys actually like it content-wise. This discourse between alpha males and beta males, let's get into it.
Men are designed to want to sleep with multiple women.
Yeah, I would say I definitely agree that men, want to sleep with multiple women. I think it's natural because one of the things is because we have so much sperm, and that we produce so much sperm, and that makes us want to repopulate the earth basically. And so a lot of times what happens is I think that society is telling men not to do that for whatever reason. You know what I mean? And some guys fall into that, but I definitely believe that men actually want to be with multiple women because it's just a natural thing in us. This is why you hear all the time, men always cheating, and guys feel like they, trying to hide the cheating and everything like that. And if it was natural for them to just want to be with that one woman, then cheating wouldn't even be an issue.
Okay, I just have to pause. Can we first discuss this shirt that this man is wearing, this alpha male? I didn't realize I would have thoughts this early in the video, but it says, his shirt says, "Submissive women are sexy." Okay, this is what he chose to wear to this panel. And there's an image of a woman, I think she's feeding a man grapes. This is the shirt that he chose to wear to this event today. This is the shirt that he chose to wear in general. I'm perplexed by this shirt for several reasons. The main reason being, when I think of somebody feeding somebody else, I don't think of that as a sign of submissiveness or what's attractive in a woman or just a partner in general. I think of that as like, that's what a servant would do. Or a parent. There's really only two contexts, right? Where somebody feeds, literally hand feeds somebody else. When you're a child or an infant and you can't feed yourself, right? So you have a parental figure doing it for you. Or because you can just afford to do it, so you have a servant to do it. Which is a very specific subset of people. Really all I can think of is like royalty, right? Royalty would have that kind of power and privilege to be literally hand-fed. So I'm just kind of perplexed by this association between that kind of activity and submissive women are sexy. So I feel like there's a lot to declutter there. But anyway, to his point about men are wired to be, I don't know if promiscuous is the right word, but to sleep around, that's the prompt. Men are designed to want to sleep with multiple women. You could argue a man biologically is wired to inseminate, and he can inseminate many women in one given period. Whereas a woman, if she gets pregnant, right, she can't get pregnant again for those 9 months. Like, she has to focus on that one child. when she's pregnant. But while she's pregnant, that same man can get another woman pregnant, right? So you could say biologically there is validity to this argument that men would then be wired to spread their seed. Fair. However, I would argue that there's holes to this argument as well, because I actually think my argument was more valid than his. His was more so about just the quantity of sperm, which you could claim that women have more than just one egg. You know what I mean? Like they have a ton of eggs as well that then as they get older decrease in numbers. But you could argue that they also have the fertility to seek multiple partners, and they're only pregnant for about 9 months, right? So theoretically, a woman could just keep giving birth and have dozens of kids her whole lifetime, right? So it's not a totally perfect argument. The other thing here is, what do we really care about as a society or as a species? Is it reproduction? Is that the most important goal? Or is it survival? Meaning, what's the point of reproducing if all those offspring, right? And I'm just thinking now biologically, any species, right? Imagine an ant colony, right? They have a ton of ants, thousands of ants. But if those ants suddenly get hit with bacteria, right, and they can't protect themselves, or there's a predator or whatever, and the whole colony is eliminated, then suddenly reproduction is not so important. It's about survival. So my point is, if we adapt this to the human analogy, there's caretaking, and a lot of caretaking. Actually, human babies and children need a lot more nurturance than the average species out in the world. Like if you think about it, a human has so much dependency on being taken care of by adults for a very long time until they can really thrive on their own independently in the world. So the point in saying all this is, his argument is sort of advocating a man just spreading his seed all over versus maybe traditional monogamy, and that's his own perspective. That's a lot of people's perspective. But I would argue that the stability of a parental figure and the stability of a child's household and all that is also beneficial on a societal level, on a species level. So I'm saying all that to say, I get his argument. It's a very common argument that people will say, especially men who like to sleep around and don't want to have monogamous relationships. But there's holes in it.
With me, I'm non-monogamous, so I have a wife, I have a girlfriend, and I still, from time to time hook up with other girls. You know what I mean? And the thing is, it feels regular to me. It doesn't feel like I'm trying to do it or doing it because I'm forcing myself. It just feels just natural.
Like a wife, a girlfriend, and he sleeps around. I mean, listen, I guess if it works for you, but I just wonder what the women get out of that, right? What does the girlfriend get out of that? Or what is the difference between a wife and a girlfriend? Is the wife does she get extra perks? Like they live together and the girlfriend joins on trips? The alpha thing, this idea of I'm an alpha male, so I should be able to get all the women. When guys use that argument, I find it fascinating, because if they're really comparing it to another species where there's an alpha male that is able to sleep with other multiple females, even if there's one main, mother of the tribe, the deal there though is the alpha male is protecting the entire tribe. So it's like everybody's benefiting from that member of the tribe. I don't know that all these women involved benefit beyond a sexual relationship from this kind of dynamic. And I could be wrong. Maybe they do benefit. Maybe the guy in the purple shirt is so traditional that he also has a mindset of I pay for everything with all these women. So part of the deal for them to share me is they don't have to work or something, right? Or they're on my insurance plan. I don't know. They get some kind of value from this relationship beyond just, again, what he gets, which is clearly sexual and probably emotional connection. I do also want to point out, notice 2 out of 4 of these alpha males are dressed really nicely for this, like they're in suits and they're very coiffed. The other two guys are more sort of casual. I do think this is very interesting too, and I guess it's because I've stumbled upon some YouTube channels of self-proclaimed alpha males. I've noticed presentation comes up a lot with guys who call themselves alpha males, and I understand it because looks have an impact for sure on how you're perceived, and I feel like alpha males, guys who call themselves that, tend to go into jobs where image is a big part of it, right? They're salesmen, they're businessmen, so they're used to that aesthetic of they walk into a room and they leave an impression in terms of how they walk, how they move, how they talk, and that includes how they dress. But I find it interesting because there's also an inherent glibness to part of your identity being about how you present yourself down to the clothes. So what I'm saying is, yes, first impressions matter. Yes, the way you dress, people will respect you more or less. Like, I spent the first minute of this video making fun of the shirt that said "Submissive Women are sexy." So clearly it has an impact, right? First impressions matter and have an impact. But I think it's funny that, to me, a suit it's almost like cosplay, right? Like, it's a uniform that you want to say XYZ with. I'm somebody who cares so much more about the substance of what somebody says and of their actions. And they can very well dress like this and still have substance. I'm not taking away from that. But I always inherently sort of code that when I see somebody really dressed up for an event that's not necessarily associated with dressing up, like a panel like this, right? They're not going to a wedding, they're not going to a funeral, they're not going to a gala. So it always registers immediately for me, oh, this person wants to be seen a certain way, and that always inherently makes me suspicious about what's beneath the veneer of a person. That's just me. I don't know if you guys have the same reaction, but that's my gut reaction whenever I see somebody so dressed up for something that is otherwise kind of casual.
Can the disagreeer step forward?
I remember when I would go on tour and things like that, my friends would always try to encourage me to hook up with girls that were on to me. But I wasn't really into it. And it made me feel weird, off, like there was something wrong with me. And now I'm at a point in my life where I feel like I'm only having sex with multiple women, so I'm not weird, so I'm quote unquote normal.
I think it's a part of your character and who you are. I do believe that if you're going to be honest with your partner is into it. But do I believe that we are biologically meant and it's in our head because we have to procreate and this and that? I don't believe that. I believe the reason we do it a lot is because it's looked upon as a great thing for men to have multiple women.
So I understand that with YouTube channels like this, right, with Jubilee, and there's a bunch of them out there, but the ones that do these panels and these debates on these polarizing topics, they want to get as many views as possible, right? They want to go viral so they can make more money from ad revenue and stuff like that, sponsorships. So I get why they find the people that they find, but it also frustrates me that they really lean into stereotypes. Like, I mentioned the thing about the two guys in the suits before, which is a very typical thing you see with guys who are self-proclaimed alpha males. And then here you have two guys, one of them, the bisexual guy, feels a little bit effeminate to me. And then there's the other guy who has this rocker alternative emo vibe, who's literally wearing a dress. And I'm like, they represent such a small fraction of what the concept of a beta male is. They're doing that obviously, right? Jubilee is doing that on purpose to create, this dichotomy in one extreme versus the other. But the reality is, if you really poke at this concept of alpha versus beta, if we look at it in other species that have this so-called concept, there's really only one alpha male, and if there's any competition, they fight to the death or until the weaker party gets exiled from the tribe. Everybody else is a beta male. So by that definition, right, most guys in society, most men, are beta males, and most women are also beta females. Here, by making 2 out of the 4 guys on the beta side more on the effeminate side, it makes them, it conflates this idea of beta with like submissive, I guess, for lack of a better word, when really beta is just like the average guy versus like the guy who's in charge of the tribe, right? The leader.
Submissive women are more attractive than dominating women.
Oh, hell yeah. You know, hell yeah. Listen, my shirt says submissive women are sexy. Okay, so.
Yeah, it's true, man. It's true. Look, I think one of the most beautiful things about love is being able to fully take care of a woman in every way, whether that's emotionally, protecting, providing, everything about that. Like every fairy tale that was ever written for all of time was about a man saving a woman from a castle and a dragon, right? Or some sort of scenario like that. And I think that's absolutely beautiful. And I have nothing against women being empowered, but I do feel like the happiest women in the world are the ones that look up to a man and that he can fight every day to love her and love his kids and his family and provide and be that source of something to actually look up to. Like, I believe a woman can admire a man and it's very, very, very healthy. Am I saying that somebody that doesn't do that is not a man? No, I would never. But ideally, the relationships that are going to work, the relationships in, let's say, the 30s, 40s, 50s, or whenever, you know, we were having nuclear families stay together before we went off the gold standard and inflation pushed everybody to have 2 people have to have a job. Yeah, dude, I do. I think those relationships are much happier when the man could lead a house and be proud of going out and going to work every day and fighting for his family. Yeah, I do.
Wow. There was so much ignorance in that one little snippet. I'm very curious what you guys think about everything that guy Justin just said. Wow. What's really interesting about everything he just said is it's from his own perspective as a man. Everything was from his own lens. Did you notice that? Like, there was no nuance in how another party could see it, meaning how a woman's perspective would see it. Like what he just said about when the nuclear family was intact, he mentioned the 30s, 40s, and 50s. The reason fewer people used to get divorced is because women had fewer options. Like up until what? I don't know, 100 years ago? I'm not an expert on this subject, but not that long ago, women literally were barred from education, from higher education. So if you can't get more educated, that limits your professional potential, right? What opportunities you can get for yourself professionally. So then it tips the balance in terms of, like, there's only so many places a woman can go to thrive, like to be able to have essentials, food, shelter, and so on. Hence why it used to be so much more common for women to just get married, and essentially the marriage was the job for the woman, right? Being a housewife, right? Being a mother to the kids, that was her job, but she's also kind of tethered to it in a sense. So it's just so bizarre to me that somebody would use that example. Same with the fairy tale thing. Like, fairy tales have always been about a Prince Charming saving a woman, you know, damsel in distress on a white horse. There's no nuance of why that exists. It's the same argument as when people are like, well, I grew up in a town full of churches, so this must be the only valid religion, right? It's a very nearsighted mindset of, this is what I see, this is what I've always been exposed to, so it must be the truth. As opposed to digging into the nuances of, like, if something's always been this way, does it mean it has to stay this way? You have to think about who's authoring fairy tales, right? The same thing with the Bible. Who was writing scripture? It's men writing all of this. So you're more likely to write things that favor you in a position of dominance, power, control, authority, perspective. It's interesting to me that a lot of the comments he just made are about the dynamic with a woman and what brings a woman happiness, but there are no women in the room. Like, it's weird to me that I would have the self-consciousness in that moment to be like, I think women probably want XYZ, but there are no women here, so I guess it's not really appropriate for me to assume. I just find it shocking that he goes straight into women are happiest when they're admiring a man. Like, he didn't say this explicitly, but he made it sound like when a man is kind of like on a pedestal to the woman. This is a very traditional, old school biblical view of the man is the head of the household and the woman is like a step below. And listen, there are women who are down for that, who want that kind of dynamic. So whatever energy you put out, you're gonna get, you're gonna get back what fits with that. So if it works for him, it works for him. But I just think there's an inherent desire there's a difference between wanting to be a leader or wanting to be head of a household, right? I feel like it's all about the deliverance of how you say this. I think you can want to be a leader, but not say things that imply you are under me. Notice he said the thing about a woman admiring a man, that's the best kind of relationship. When she looks up to a man, that's what he said. When a woman looks up to a man, that's the ideal situation, and that's when a woman is happiest, he said. I think it's really interesting that he didn't say it goes both ways. Like, can both happen? Can a woman admire her male partner in certain ways about certain things that are traditional, and then he admires her about traditional things? But he didn't say that, right? Sometimes you learn a lot about people's perspectives based on the things they say and the things they choose not to say, right? So I find that very interesting. I would think in a very healthy partnership, it's a yin yang, right? It's like you complete you fill each other's blind spots. So I get what he's saying about a man providing, a man protecting. You can still believe that and want that. But I think it's weird that he just focused everything on, this is everything I bring to the table as a man. And the woman is kind of like under me or beneath me, kind of like, oh, looking up at me. I don't know, that whole snippet just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know if you guys feel the same way.
And the thing is with submission is like, if you even look at the word submission, sub, under, a mission. If I have a mission and this woman is under my mission, meaning I'm leading her, right? Then that is a actual good relationship that's going to flourish.
Gosh. Talking about a mission is such a dramatic analogy. He's wearing a backwards baseball hat with a shirt that says "Submissive Women are sexy," where there's a woman feeding a guy with grapes. Nothing about his energy feels serious enough to regard his dynamic with a woman as, she's a part of my mission. Like, you're not a soldier, you're not running for office. Like, who are you? Like, these people are so delusional. There's an important nuance here too that I want to mention, which is that, again, they keep talking about women this, women that, which is fascinating to me. That like this is supposed to be a conversation about alpha males versus beta males, but so much of the focus of the conversation is how they connect to women, how women are supposed to feel around them, or in relation to them and in relation to men. I think a lot of women, I don't know this, but I'm just saying, speaking from experience, as somebody who has always wanted to find a strong man as a partner and failing to do so, I had to get to a place where I realized, like, I have to be the strong partner in my own life. Like, I have to be that for myself, because I'm looking at the options I have out here, and none of these guys I'm exposed to that I've met so far live up to my standard of what I would need. So I'm assuming that a lot of women have this same mindset of, like, they would want to have a guy who's the right fit and who they feel protected, supported by, all that stuff. But if they're not finding it, in the meantime, they have to survive. And oh, look, if education is accessible to them and equal paying jobs and all that stuff, they're going to go that route because they can bet on themselves rather than a man. I think it's interesting that they're so focused on submissiveness versus a woman who's too alpha or too dominant, and they're not thinking at all like women have survival instincts just like men have survival instincts.
There were just a few things that I disagree on. I think that in 2023, especially, I think women just want to be able to look to the side and see their partner as an equal. And I think a lot of women now are, I don't think they're trying to be men. I think what they're realizing is that the qualities that they were looking for in men, they've always had it within themselves. If women are submissive, it's mostly for, I want to say like the validation for the man. I think they know in the back of their heads, like they know now that they can do things on their own. I don't think they necessarily need a man, but I think what they're looking for is that intimacy to have a partner. But I don't think that they require one.
Brilliant. And that's it. That's what I was trying to say. He said it so much more clearly, I think. He's coming from an empathy and an empathy base and a nuance based thinking, and you can tell it's coming from a place of he's talked to women, he's dated women, and that has informed his opinion, versus these alpha guys who you can tell are coming straight from their own perspective without having actually like consulted women about these opinions they have of what women want and need. Anyway, these are just highlights that I wanted to dissect with you guys. I'm gonna put the link in the description box and in the comment section of this video if you wanna watch the full version. The full version is actually like an hour long. It's always interesting to hear different people's perspectives, but sometimes these conversations just kind of irk me, and I wanna yell at the screen because, you know, there's that saying, an empty barrel makes the most noise, right? A lot of people like to be very vocal like this, but they're not introspective about what they're saying, nor are they considering the opinions of people who come from a different walk of life, a different perspective, a different life experience, and so on. Tell me what you guys think in the comments, and also tell me if you want me to do more of these reaction type videos. See you next time.